Chapter 1. The First Word. I ever spoke alone. The room was quiet. The door was closed. Outside, the city was loud. Cars, people, noise. But inside my room, there was only silence. The light from my study lamp made a small circle on the wall. I was sitting on the floor. My notebook was open in front of me. The pages were full of English words, written again and again, but I had never said them out loud, not even once. I looked at the mirror. My reflection looked nervous. I could see my own eyes blinking fast. My lips were dry. My hands were cold. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to say one word, just one. But it felt like a mountain. The word was simple. I had read it many times. I had heard it in movies. It was not long, not difficult. The word was hello. I took a breath. My heart was beating like a drum. I looked at my mouth in the mirror. I shaped the word with my lips, but no sound came out. I closed my eyes. I said it again, in my head. Hello, hello, hello. Then I opened my eyes and whispered, hello. It was small, almost a breath. But it was real. It was my voice. It was the first English word I had ever spoken out loud, alone. And something changed. I looked at the mirror again. I saw a different person, not a fluent speaker, not a brave hero, but a beginner, a real one, someone who had taken the first step. My mouth smiled. My eyes smiled too. That night, I said more words, slowly, quietly. Hello. My name is... How are you? I made small sentences. I didn't care about grammar. I didn't care about mistakes. No one was watching. No one was judging. For the first time, I was my own teacher. It felt strange, like learning how to swim in a dry pool. But it also felt safe. I didn't need a classroom. I didn't need permission. I just needed my voice. I remembered my school days, how I always stayed quiet in English class. I never raised my hand. I was afraid to say the wrong thing. I was afraid someone would laugh, so I said nothing. But now, in this room, with only a mirror, I had nothing to lose. The next day, I did it again. I closed the door. I looked at the mirror. I said, hello. It was louder than before. Then I said, I am learning English. My accent was not perfect. My rhythm was strange. But it didn't matter. I kept going. Day after day I spoke. Sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 15. I said my name. I talked about my day. I described what I was wearing. I looked around the room and named every object in English. I said, this is a chair. That is a table. I have a blue pen. It felt silly, but it worked. My fear slowly became smaller. My voice slowly became stronger. I still made mistakes, but they didn't stop me. I knew no one would laugh. I knew no one would stop me. Speaking alone gave me freedom. Some nights I got tired. I thought, is this really helping? I didn't sound like the people in movies. I didn't speak fast. I didn't use big words. But I kept going. Because I remembered that first moment, the first word, that whisper in the dark. It was mine. No teacher gave it to me. No book forced it out of me. It came from my own heart. And that made all the difference. Now, when I look back, I smile at that evening, that small, quiet room, that shaky voice, that simple word, hello. It was not just the beginning of a new language, it was the beginning of a new me. And if you are reading this, maybe you're sitting in your own quiet room. Maybe your heart is beating fast too. Maybe you're afraid. But I promise you, just say one word, any word. Say it softly. Say it to yourself. That one word can change your life. Because the moment you speak, you become more than a learner. You become a speaker. Chapter 2. My room became my classroom. It started with a mirror and a notebook, but soon my whole room became something else. Not just a place to sleep or study, but a place to speak, to learn, to grow. My room became my classroom. Every morning I woke up and sat on my bed. I looked around. My chair was not just a chair anymore. It was my teacher. I would stand in front of it and pretend I was in a real class. I would say, "Good morning, teacher," and then answer fake questions like, "What is your name?" "My name is Ali." I knew the chair would never answer back, but that didn't matter. It helped me talk. It helped me try. My notebook became my friend. I wrote in it every day, new words, short sentences, tiny stories. When I didn't know how to say something, I looked it up. Then I wrote it. Then I said it, out loud, again and again, sometimes 10 times, sometimes 20. My room was quiet, but my voice filled it. The mirror was the most powerful thing. I stood in front of it and looked at my mouth when I spoke. I watched how I moved my lips, how my face changed with different sounds. I copied the expressions from English movies. I smiled when I said, "Nice to meet you." I looked serious when I said, "I don't understand." I used my face like an actor. It felt funny, but it made me brave. I downloaded a few apps on my phone. They had small lessons, easy words, daily phrases. I didn't just listen, I spoke them. I turned off the volume and tried to say them first. Then I checked if I was right. I wasn't always right, but I was always learning. Sometimes I would watch short videos on YouTube, not long lessons, just simple scenes, people ordering food, asking for directions, talking to friends. I paused the video. I repeated the lines. I changed the lines to my own life. Instead of, "I want coffee," I said, "I want chai." Instead of, "Let's go to the park," I said, "Let's go to the rooftop." I acted out the scene. I used my hands. I moved around the room. I made it feel real. My room had 4 walls. But inside those walls, I created a world. I practiced like I was in a shop. "Hello, how much is this?" I practiced like I was in a hotel. "I have a booking." I practiced like I was at the airport. "Where is gate number 7? I didn't need a real place. I just needed imagination and my voice. Every object in my room became a tool. The bed was a bus. I sat and pretended to talk to a stranger. "Is this seat free?" The cupboard was a counter. I asked for help. "Excuse me, I need size medium." The wall was a whiteboard. I explained things. "This is a pen. This is a book. These are my shoes." It was like playing, but it was also practice. At night, I had a small routine. I opened my notebook and read aloud, even if it was just 5 lines, even if I was tired. My rule was simple: one voice every day. Sometimes I recorded myself on my phone. I listened later. I laughed at my own mistakes, but I also smiled when I got things right. No one in my house knew what I was doing. They thought I was just studying, but I was doing more. I was creating confidence, one sentence at a time. No one corrected me. No one guided me, but I was learning. I realized something important. Speaking English alone is not lonely. It is strong. It is honest. You are not speaking for show. You are speaking for growth. Some days were easy, some days were slow, but my room was always waiting. My mirror, my chair, my notebook, my phone. They never said no. They never said, "That's wrong." They let me try. They let me repeat. They let me fail and try again. And slowly, the words became easier. My tongue moved faster. My sentences got longer. My voice got clearer. I was not just learning English. I was becoming someone new. And it all happened in one small room. Not a classroom with desks and rules, but a room with silence and courage. A room that heard my first word, my first sentence, my first mistake, my first success. That room taught me the most important lesson. If you speak, even alone, your voice will grow. And mine did. Every single day. Chapter 3. Talking to myself in the kitchen. The kitchen was always a busy place in our home. My mother cooked there. My siblings came in and out to grab food. Pots and pans made noise. The smell of spices filled the air. But for me, the kitchen became something more. It became another classroom. Not a quiet one. Not a clean one. But a real one. A living one. I stood near the stove one day, waiting for the water to boil. My hands were doing the work, but my mind was still thinking about English. Then I said it, without planning. I am boiling water. My voice was low, almost a whisper, but I heard it, and it made me smile. That one sentence opened a door. After that, I began speaking more in the kitchen. I named everything I could see. This is a spoon. This is a cup. This is a pan. I am cutting onions. I am washing rice. I said these things while doing them. It made my learning real. My hands worked and my tongue moved. It was practice, and it was life. The kitchen gave me new vocabulary every day. I didn't need a dictionary. I just looked around. One day I said, "This is a plate." The next day I washed the plate. Then I put the plate on the table. These small changes helped me grow. The same object, different actions, different words. It made learning natural. Sometimes I made mistakes. I said, "I am pour water." Then I corrected myself. "I am pouring water." No one heard me. No one laughed. That was the best part of speaking alone. I could try again and again. I could fail and still be proud. One evening, I was making tea. I started talking like a cooking show host. I said, "Today we are making tea. First we take water. Then we add tea leaves. Then we wait. Finally we add milk. I laughed at myself, but I kept going. I acted like millions of people were watching, but really, only the teapot was listening. The more I talked in the kitchen, the more confident I felt. I stopped caring about sounding perfect. I started caring about being clear. If I didn't know a word, I tried to describe it. This thing. We use it to hold hot pans. It is soft. We use it for safety. Later, I searched the word. Oven mitt. Then I said it out loud 5 times. Even cleaning became a lesson. I am washing dishes. The water is cold. The plate is slippery. I dropped the plate. I used short sentences. I said what I was doing. I said what I was feeling. The curry smells good. The pan is hot. I am hungry. This was not grammar practice. It was life practice in English. I didn't need a textbook. I didn't need a partner. I needed only one thing: my voice. The kitchen became a place of learning. Every morning I greeted the day with words. I open the fridge. I take milk. I pour it. I drink it. Simple words. Simple steps. But with each word, my confidence grew. At night, when the house was quiet, I stood near the sink and practiced. I am cleaning. The sink is full. The glass is broken. Sometimes I spoke fast, sometimes slow, but I always spoke. I used everything: the spoon, the cup, the knife, not just for cooking, but for speaking. I learned how to say peel, chop, boil, stir, serve, eat. I learned how to give instructions: turn on the stove, add oil, wait 5 minutes. I was teaching myself without knowing it. Every meal was a lesson. Every dish was a sentence. Soon I found myself thinking in English while cooking. I no longer needed to translate. I just said the words, naturally. It felt easy. It felt free. My family never asked why I talked while cooking. Maybe they thought I was just thinking aloud. Maybe they thought I was copying something from TV. But I knew what I was doing. I was building a skill. I was training my mouth, my brain, my ears. And the kitchen helped me. It gave me action. It gave me rhythm. It gave me the chance to speak every day, without fear, without stress. Now, whenever I enter the kitchen, I smile. Because I know it's not just a place for food, it's a place for practice, for growth, for speaking English, one dish, one word, one sentence at a time. Chapter 4. My secret time on the rooftop. The sun was setting. The sky had soft colors: orange, pink, purple. The city was still noisy, but up on the rooftop it felt far away. The air was cooler. The wind moved gently. I climbed the stairs slowly, holding my phone and a small notebook. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. This was my quiet time, my secret time. I reached the rooftop and looked around. The sky was wide. The stars were beginning to show. The buildings nearby stood like silent watchers. I walked to the far corner. No one else was there. Just me and the sky. I took a deep breath. My heart was calm. My mind was ready. And I began to speak. At first, it was just a whisper. Hello, how are you? I waited. Then I said, I am fine, thank you. I smiled. I was talking to myself. But it didn't feel silly. It felt safe. It felt right. I walked slowly along the edge. Each step gave me rhythm. Each sentence gave me power. I am from Pakistan. I am learning English. I like to talk. I want to be better. I spoke clearly, slowly. I imagined someone in front of me, a friend, a stranger, a teacher. I pretended we were talking. I asked questions. Then I answered them. What do you do? I am a student. Why do you want to learn English? Because I want to travel. I want to meet people. I want to grow. Sometimes I paused. I looked up at the stars. They were so quiet, but they made me feel big, not small. I felt like I was not alone. The sky was listening. The stars were listening. And they never judged me. Then I practiced interviews. I had seen many videos. I knew the questions. Tell me about yourself. My name is Ahmed. I am 23 years old. I live in Lahore. I love reading. I love learning languages. What are your strengths? I am a good listener. I work hard. I am always improving. What are your weaknesses? I get nervous when I speak, but I am working on it. Each answer was my truth. Each sentence came from the heart. I didn't read anything. I just spoke, from memory, from practice, from feeling. The rooftop became my stage, but there was no audience. That was the beauty. I could speak freely, loudly, or softly. I could make mistakes. I could repeat a sentence 10 times. No one would laugh. No one would stop me. I walked back and forth. My steps matched my words. This is the way I learn. This is the way I grow. This is the way I speak. Sometimes I closed my eyes and imagined being in a foreign country, at an airport, in a coffee shop, in a meeting. I acted out scenes. Excuse me, where is the bus stop? It's over there. Thank you very much. You're welcome. The sky got darker. More stars appeared. The air became cooler. But I didn't want to stop. My voice was steady now. I felt brave. I felt strong. I felt free. I stayed for 30 minutes, sometimes an hour. I didn't check the time. I didn't check my phone. I just spoke, word after word, line after line. I was not studying. I was living the language. Then, one evening, something changed. I laughed out loud, not at myself, but with myself. I said a joke in English, just a small one, but it made me happy. I realized I wasn't just practicing English. I was becoming myself in English. This was more than language. It was identity. It was expression. It was confidence. And I had built it myself, with no teacher, no classroom, no lessons, just a rooftop, just my voice, just courage. I still go there even now, even when I am tired, even when I feel stuck. I go back to the rooftop, because that is where my English becomes real. That is where I don't fear mistakes. That is where I remember I can speak. If you ever feel afraid to talk in front of people, find a quiet place, a small corner, a park, a rooftop, anywhere. Make it your stage, make it your classroom. Speak to the stars, speak to the night, speak to yourself, because your voice matters, even when no one hears it. That rooftop helped me find mine. Chapter 5. How I built my own conversations. It was a normal day. I was sitting alone in my room. The fan was spinning, My phone was charging. I had no one to talk to, but I still wanted to speak English. I wanted to feel the flow of a real conversation. So I made a decision. If I could not talk to others, I would talk to myself. Not just simple sentences, full conversations, from both sides. I picked up my notebook and wrote a scene. Buying shoes in a shop. Then I closed the notebook and stood up. I looked at my reflection in the window. I imagined I was standing in a big shoe store in London or Dubai. I took a deep breath and started. "Hello, how can I help you?" I asked, pretending to be the shopkeeper. "Yes, I want to buy shoes," I replied now as the customer. "What size are you looking for?" "Size 9, please." "Do you want something formal or casual?" "Casual, something comfortable for walking." Back and forth, I kept going. I changed my voice for each role. I moved my hands like real people do. I even paused between lines like real conversations. It felt like acting, but it was more than that. It was training, it was practice, and it was fun. After that, I wrote more scenes. At the airport, in a hotel, at a restaurant, talking to a friend, asking for directions. I kept the conversations short and simple. I repeated them again and again. Sometimes I stood, sometimes I walked, but I always spoke. One day I made a list of common questions. "What's your name? Where are you from? What do you do? What are your hobbies?" Then I made answers for all of them. But I didn't stop there. I asked follow-up questions. I made the dialogue longer. "Where are you from?" "I'm from Lahore." "Oh, I've heard it's a big city." "Yes, it's full of life. Great food, too." I smiled while saying it. It felt natural. It didn't feel like study anymore. It felt like talking, real talking. At first, I had to think before every answer. I had to remember the right words. I had to translate from Urdu to English in my head. But slowly, something changed. I didn't need to translate. The words just came. My brain stopped working like a dictionary. It started working like a voice. That was the shift. It didn't happen in one day. It took weeks, but I could feel it. Before, I used to say, "Wait, what's the word for this?" Now, I just said it. Even if the sentence was not perfect, it came out fast. It came out like me. Sometimes I acted out emergencies. "Help! I need a doctor." "What happened?" "My friend fell. He can't move." "Okay, stay calm. I'll call an ambulance." Even in serious scenes, I stayed focused. I imagined the whole situation. I made it feel real. It was strange at first, talking like this to myself, but I got used to it. I enjoyed it. I even practiced making phone calls. I held my phone and spoke into it. "Hello, I'd like to book a table for 2. "What time, sir?" 7 o'clock, please." "Okay. Your name?" "My name is Sammy." These conversations helped me in a new way. I started to feel how English sounds in real situations, not school English, not textbook English, real, simple, everyday English. And the best part? I didn't need anyone. No teacher, no partner, just my voice and imagination. I became both speaker and listener, both question and answer. I created hundreds of small dialogues, some in the morning, some before bed, sometimes while walking, sometimes while brushing my teeth. I didn't wait for the perfect time. I just talked. And every time I did it, I got better. I stopped worrying about grammar. I stopped worrying about big words. I focused on being clear, being natural, being confident. Now, when someone asks me something in English, I don't panic. I just answer. My brain is ready. My tongue is trained. Because I've already had the conversation before, in my room, in my mind, on my own. That's the secret. You don't need a crowd to practice. You don't need a real situation. You can build it yourself. You can talk to yourself. You can train your brain to speak, not to remember. And once your brain learns to speak, you will never be silent again. Chapter 6. Using the Internet like a language partner. The first time I watched a YouTube video and talked back to it, I felt strange. The speaker was fast, fluent, confident. I was sitting alone with my phone in my hand, but I spoke anyway. The video said, "Good morning, everyone," and I replied, "Good morning." It was a small thing, but it changed how I use the internet forever. Before, I watched videos to relax. I watched movies with popcorn. I listened to podcasts while walking. It was fun, but it was silent. I was only watching, only listening. I was passive. But then I had a thought. What if I stopped being silent? I started with short English videos, simple ones just 5 minutes long. One about travel, one about daily routines, one about shopping. I played the first few seconds, then paused. I repeated what the speaker said. "Hi, I'm Anna. Welcome to my channel." I said it out loud. "Hi, I'm Anna. Welcome to my channel." Again. "Hi, I'm Anna. Welcome to my channel." Not just once, 5 times, 10 times, until it felt natural, until it felt like my own sentence. I copied the accent. I tried to match the voice, the rise and fall, the pauses, the energy. I became the speaker. Just for a moment. Then I played the next sentence and did the same. I watched those videos not with my eyes, but with my mouth. That's when I realized English is not just something to watch. It's something to say. I turned on subtitles. I watched and read together. When I didn't understand, I paused. I read the sentence slowly. Then I said it aloud. I didn't move on until I said it clearly. Sometimes I used English podcasts. I would listen to one short part, maybe 20 seconds. Then I paused. I repeated it. I copied the tone. If the speaker said, "It's a beautiful day outside," I said it the same way. I walked while saying it. I looked out the window. I made it real. Even music helped me. I chose slow English songs with clear lyrics. I listened. I sang along. I paused and spoke the lyrics. I didn't care about the melody, I just cared about the words. I even started watching movies in a new way. Not for fun, but for learning. I chose my favorite scenes. I copied the actors, their words, their faces, their hand movements. I became the character. In one scene, the actor said, "I can do this all day." I said it too. "I can do this all day." Again. I can do this all day. Until my voice sounded strong, I wrote captions under videos in my notebook. Then I spoke them, slowly, clearly. I tried to remember them and say them later. I became a student again, but without a teacher. Some days, I pretended YouTube was my real conversation partner. The speaker said, "Let's begin," and I replied, "Yes, I'm ready." The speaker asked, "Do you like coffee?" And I answered, "Yes, with milk." The speaker said, "Repeat after me," and I repeated. I turned the screen into a mirror. I turned the sound into practice. It didn't feel like study. It felt like talking. And slowly, things changed. When I watched a video now, my mouth moved automatically. When I heard a sentence, I said it too. When I watched a movie, I didn't just listen. I joined in. The internet became more than just information. It became a language partner, a free partner, a patient one, a teacher that never sleeps. You don't need expensive classes. You don't need perfect lessons. You just need to change the way you watch. Speak with the video. Don't just press play, press speak. Now, when I scroll through Instagram or YouTube, I see practice everywhere. Every English video is a chance. Every sentence is a tool. Every speaker is a coach. Because now, English doesn't live only on the screen. It lives in my voice. It comes out of my mouth. And that's how I know I'm not just watching anymore. I'm speaking. Chapter 7. From Whisper to Voice. It didn't happen suddenly. It was slow, like watching a plant grow or waiting for water to boil. One day I was whispering words in my room. The next, I was speaking full sentences while walking down the street. I didn't even notice the change at first, but then it hit me. I wasn't whispering anymore. I was really speaking. I remember the first time my voice felt strong. It was a quiet morning. I was brushing my teeth, looking in the mirror. I said, "Today is going to be a good day." The sentence came out clearly. No pause, no fear, no thinking. It was just there, on my tongue, in the air. I didn't whisper. I didn't mumble. I spoke like someone who believed it. That moment stayed with me. After that, I started speaking while walking, not loudly, just soft sentences. "I'm going to the shop. It's hot today. I forgot my wallet." Simple thoughts, but in English. Not translated, not prepared, just spoken. The biggest shift was this. I stopped planning my words. I started living in them. Before, I had to stop and think. I had to build the sentence like a puzzle. Now the words came by themselves, like breath, like water. They flowed. At night, before sleeping, I spoke to myself in the dark. I talked about my day. Today was long. I felt tired, but I learned something. I told myself stories. I described dreams. I planned tomorrow. And I did it all in English. When I put on my shirt in the morning, I said, "This shirt is new." When I tied my shoes, I said, "I am getting ready." When I looked in the mirror, I said, "I look tired today." These sentences weren't from books. They were from life. It felt natural. It felt real. The voice that used to be scared, that used to hide, was now part of my daily routine. I didn't need a reason. I didn't need an audience. I just needed a moment, and I always found one. Sometimes I laughed because I forgot I was speaking alone. I caught myself in the middle of a sentence and thought, wait, who am I talking to? But I didn't stop. I kept going because it didn't feel strange anymore. It felt like me. The fear was gone. The doubt was smaller. My voice was louder. Even my body changed. My shoulders were straighter. My face was more open. I used my hands when I spoke, even when no one was watching. I started to sound like the people in English movies, not the accent, but the rhythm, the flow, the life. I didn't care about grammar anymore. I cared about connection, about sound, about energy. My mistakes became smaller. My confidence became bigger. I spoke and trusted myself. There was one evening I won't forget. I was walking alone. The street was quiet. A cool breeze was blowing. I was thinking in English. Then, without warning, I said, "I'm proud of myself." The sentence surprised me, not because of the words, but because I believed them. I was proud of the voice I had built, proud of the journey I had taken, from silence to whisper, from whisper to voice. Language was no longer a subject for me, not something for exams, not something from blackboards. It was a friend, a daily companion, always with me, always ready. Now, when I hear English on the radio, I speak back. When I see English signs, I read them aloud. When I watch something, I copy the lines without thinking. My voice is awake. My English is alive. If you had told me months ago that I would speak like this, I wouldn't have believed you. I thought it was impossible without a teacher, without a classroom. But I was wrong. The real teacher was my own voice. The real classroom was my daily life. And if you're still whispering, that's okay. Whispering is the beginning. It's not weak. It's brave. But one day, you will speak louder. You will speak freely. And you will surprise yourself. Because the moment your voice becomes your habit, English becomes your second skin. And you'll realize you're not learning anymore. You're living it. Chapter 8. I am my own teacher. Now, I used to think that fluency belonged to classrooms, to people who had foreign teachers, to students with expensive books and perfect accents. I thought real English needed a guide, a system, a school, but now, when I look back, I smile. Because my fluency didn't come from any of those things. It came from me, from my own mouth, from my small daily practice. I was my own teacher. In the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I wanted to speak. So I whispered. Then I talked. Then I spoke clearly. I didn't wait for permission. I didn't wait for the right course. I just started. And slowly, things changed. I built a voice. Not a perfect one. Not a professional one. But a real one. A strong one. A voice that could say what I wanted to say. I used everything around me. A mirror. A notebook. A cup of tea. A phone screen. A rooftop. A kitchen. Each one helped me speak. Each one became my classroom. People ask me now, "Where did you learn to speak like this?" I say, "Alone." They are surprised. They ask, "No teacher?" I say, "Only one, myself." Because that's the truth. My greatest lessons didn't come from books. They came from life, from pretending, from repeating, from acting, from talking to myself when no one was watching. I spoke when I woke up. I spoke when I cooked. I spoke when I walked. I spoke in the dark. I spoke under the stars, and I never stopped. That was my secret. That was my system. Not perfect, but powerful. There were no marks, no exams, no gold stars, but there was progress, real progress. I heard it in my voice. I felt it in my mouth. I saw it in my confidence. I learned how to think in English, not by memorizing, but by living it. I made mistakes, but I kept going. I felt nervous, but I still spoke. I didn't need an audience. I didn't need applause. I just needed to try. Now I don't fear English. I don't run from it. I welcome it. I enjoy it. It's part of me. Not something I study, but something I use. Speaking alone is not strange. It's smart. It's honest. It's brave. When you speak alone, you are building your own voice. You are not copying. You are becoming. And the best part? You don't have to wait. You can start now, wherever you are, however you are. Even one word is enough. Even 1 minute matters. Because the voice you want is already inside you. You don't need a fancy plan. You don't need big goals. You need one small thing, your voice, every day, in your own space. Speak to your mirror. Speak to your cup. Speak to your wall. It doesn't matter. What matters is the habit. What matters is the courage. I am still learning. I am still growing. But now, I know something for sure. I don't need to look for a teacher anymore. Because I am my own teacher now. And if I can do this, so can you. Start today. Speak something. Say it out loud. Don't worry if it sounds strange. Don't wait for the perfect time. The perfect time is already here. And the teacher you're waiting for, that's you.